Welcome to SchezzWho, your top spot for politics. Tonight, I want to begin discussing the results of the 2025 Virginia statewide elections. Special guest tonight, Tavorise Marks, will come on and aid in that discussion, and I aim to have many more in the future too. And remember, this channel is growing. We're at 193 subscribers now, but of course, I still would love for you to subscribe to this channel, like tonight's video, comment on tonight's video, keep the momentum growing so we can keep growing SchezzWho. And let me go ahead and shout out those who are helping me keep this show going along the way, including the Dissent Agenda. This is sort of the channel that I'm running through on StreamYard for all my SchezzWhos. The Dissent Agenda is also a great new podcast out in the Hampton Roads area, hosted by Melissa Lucasen and Cody Connor out in Virginia Beach. So, of course, I'm going to tell you to also follow and subscribe to the Dissent Agenda and watch all their shows. Now, Mr. Farley Perkins helped me book that great venue in Chesapeake, Gala's signature events, for my debate between Chesapeake Commonwealth Attorney Matt Hamill and Republican challenger David Mick. Well attended and well watched. Thank you to all who watched that. Over 1,000 views for that debate. And it all came through Farley Perkins to help me find that place and book it. And he can also help you with great insurance needs here in the 757. Got his information right there to look him up. Now, also don't forget, my neighbor and good friend, Miss Ellen, runs Ellen's Homestyle and Barbecue Express, LLC, which has a nice location here in Portsmouth. Another one in Virginia Beach across from Regent University. So if you need some good Southern cooking, you go to Ellen's Homestyle and Barbecue Express. If you need a sweet treat at the end of that, then go to ELG Sweet Boutique, also here in Portsmouth on High Street. A great place to get stuff like ice creams and shakes. Don't forget my good friend, Mr. Seiko Varner, who down the line, when I was doing the Beach Brothers show, helped me start it on podcast. He also ran for office in Virginia Beach. And he's also some pretty good when it comes to money issues. If you have any credit fixes you need or tax resolutions to do, lending and private money or debt consolidation, then Mr. Seiko Varner at Positive Vibes will help you out with that. So got his number right here. Look him up. He also created the Hampton Roads Green Book, a great application for you to download to find Black-owned businesses in the 757. Of course, I don't want you to forget the Black Swan Mindset, The Chronicles, nice podcast you can see on Spotify. Also, from time to time here on the SchezzWho channel, run by my awesome wife, love you, Andrea Dixon SchezzVenner. Look out for that as well. So, the guest tonight, Tavorise Marks. He's the owner of Tavorise K. Marks State Farm in Hopewell, Virginia. He's a United States Army veteran with over 15 years of honorable service, both in military police and military intelligence, and over 8 years of service in various leadership roles in state and federal government. He's also known for his active community service in Central Virginia. Tavorise is an alumni of Norfolk State University, behold the green and gold, also the University of Virginia, the Harvard Kennedy School of Government, and the University of Richmond, respectively. He earned a master's degree in urban affairs and public administration, a bachelor's degree in interdisciplinary studies, sociology, and a professional certificate in paralegal studies, contract law. So Tavorise is a licensed insurance agent in the Commonwealth of Virginia as well. And he also served 3 years on the Hopewell Police Chief Advisory Committee. And it's been a minute since he's been on. He's been on the SchezzWho's Why Vote Kamala Harris show last year. And he was on the Beach Brothers show way back in the day when he ran for delegate 4 years ago. So I remember the title. It was Progressive Policy Over Centrism. And that's going to be coming up tonight too. So welcome back to SchezzWho, Mr. Tavorise. How are you tonight?
I'm well, Conrad. How are you, man? It's always good to be with my comrade, Conrad.
I've heard that back in the day. Some ran with that, and when I was running for office, they created a little literally Comrade SchezzVenner, and it had like the sickle for the USSR on it. So they made fun of that, but Comrade Conrad, I like that. It's good to have you on as well because we get to chop it up about some good topics. And the most recent elections, of course, We're going to get into that as well, but I want to begin with some simple stuff like how Central Virginia insurance business is going these days.
Well, insurance overall, the industry across the country has been a little volatile, particularly after the wildfires in California, constant flooding down in the South and Louisiana, Texas, Florida, places like that. But for me personally, I have to give kudos to the local community who support me, who are willing to come in and support my business and help me support my family. So locally for me, the insurance business is doing pretty well. I enjoy helping people. I get to do that every single day as an insurance agent. But the industry as a whole is very much it's having some ups and downs. But for overall, everyone needs insurance. I wish we could provide better rates, but a lot of people know the agents, the people who are locally in the community, we don't control the rates. So they go up and down. We hear about it, but we don't control it. Oftentimes, a lot of people don't know that's controlled actually by your legislators. So they actually have an input on what the rates are, what the rates going to be currently and in the
Mhm.
future. But overall, they're great.
Good to see that what your venture was out there is still paying off for you. I like to see you be successful, so that's good to see that's going well. And let's go into another little bit of a softball question here, since we both have an affinity for Norfolk State,
Behold,
the green and gold. How many more seasons of maybe 1-9 football would you give Michael Vick before considering whether or not to replace him?
Conrad, as a strong alumni of Norfolk State University, also as the president of the Central Virginia Alumni Chapter, I'm already in the mindset of giving Coach Vick 3 to 4 seasons. And I think by the third or fourth season, we're going to have everything firing on all cylinders. You got to understand also, he came in with some of the leftovers that Odom had brought in. He didn't really have a full recruiting season. People have to keep that in mind. You do get lucky sometimes, like out of Delaware State with Deshaun Jackson. He's doing well with those guys. Unfortunately, beat us in the big game out in Philadelphia at the Link. But I think Coach Vic has a bright future ahead of him at Norfolk State. And I'm looking forward to him making HBCU history. He's going to turn this program around. He has the support of myself and other fellow alumni. So we are ready to support him to the end.
Do you think it's possible in a year or two, it might get so successful that it borderlines the first couple of years Dion was at Jackson State?
Yeah, a lot of people don't understand. I don't remember that Dion was not. He didn't have a winning record his first year at Jackson State either. The second year he turned it around. Then, of course, his third and fourth year, we see what that led to, and on to where he's at now in Colorado. I kind of see the same thing possibly happening in Norfolk and in Norfolk State with Coach Vic. I think he has the possibility to do that. Well, for one, the name recognition. Two, I think we have the opportunity to attract some of the best quarterbacks in the country because any great quarterback, particularly if you're a runner thrower type quarterback, if you have the opportunity to learn from the best, Michael Vick, an athlete who changed the game, I don't think too many people have turned down that opportunity. So I think once we lock down a dual threat quarterback who is excited about learning from Coach Vick, and Coach Vick makes a couple of adjustments, particularly as defensive coordinator, get us a good defensive coordinator in there. Our defense, particularly our corners and safety this year, have been it's been up and down sometimes. But yeah, he needs to get a good coaching staff around him. I think he has some pretty good coaches right now on board, but it may be time for some changes in the offseason.
We'll see about that. We will see. Let's continue the great success going forward for NSU. Now, we just had a Virginia statewide election.
Yep.
And it was better than what we could say about 2021 if you're looking at it through the prism of, like myself and yourself, the Democrat mindset. Let's digest what we say going into the elections. Again, going into it before they happened. What were the big ticket items for you when you went to the polls for the top of the ticket? What were the big things that were on your mind?
The big things on my mind actually is actually supporting the top three statewide candidates who were on the ballot: Abigail Spanberger, Gonzalo Hashmi, and Jay Jones. All three individuals I know personally. All three individuals I've seen their patrician through their political careers. Matter of fact, Jay and I we went through candidate training together back in 2017 and sat right by each other in Richmond at the SunTrust building. I remember when Gonzalez started her campaign. I was one of the first individuals to meet with her as well and just throw my support behind her. Same thing with Abigail. Abigail's mom introduced me to her. It's like, hey, you gotta meet my daughter. And from the moment I met Abigail, I've been an Abigail fan. So my top priority was to make sure those three individuals were elected, no matter what. They had my support from the beginning to the end, and I'm just so excited and so elated that they pulled it off. Especially Jay Jones. Jay's a great guy. He's a great leader. He's going to make an excellent attorney general, and I can't wait to see the success he has in the office, and also bringing true justice for Virginians back to the attorney general's office.
I hear you on that. I'm also intrigued about Senator Hashmi, and in this question, because you're a Central Virginia guy. She's a Central Virginia candidate who has ascended now to fully statewide. So what's your opinion on the fact that someone from the Richmond area is now lieutenant governor?
I think it's great. Senator Hashmi will know, Lieutenant Governor-elect Hashmi. She has the wonderful personality and temperament for the position. She's highly intelligent, being a college professor herself. She has a true, firm understanding of our higher education system, as well as what's going to help our citizens here in Virginia succeed beyond high school and beyond college, whether it's community college or a four-year university. I love the fact that she has such deep thought and knowledge in those fields to continue to help Virginia be one of the best places to live, work, and play, and produce some of the greatest leaders in this country. So I'm very excited for Gonzalo, Lieutenant Governor-elect Hashmi, and the work she's going to do. And I look forward to her becoming governor next.
Ooh, good calling the shot now for that. What's your take on the scandals inherent to what her opponent was, John Reed, and Youngkin trying to pull the ripcord on him early in the election and doing stuff like having a debate against an AI version of Senator Hashmi? How do you take his campaign now that it's over?
Well, when we look at Mr. Reed's campaign, first and foremost, I honestly, from the beginning, I kind of felt sorry for Mr. Reed. And you may say, well, why the hell would you feel sorry for Mr. Reed running for lieutenant governor? Well, I felt sorry because he was actually running under the campaign party of a party who really did not have his best interest at hand, who really did not love who he was as a person. And what I mean by that, he's one of the first openly gay males, individuals to run for statewide campaign. That is essential. Is one of the biggest things that Republicans are against: same-sex marriage, an individual having the freedom to love who they want to love. And not only that, being married, being in a partnership, I'm not sure they're married now, but being in a partnership with a black man. Those two things that I think Mr. Reed should beat his chest on and should have been more proud of. But he serves a party that disliked both those things about him. And I struggle to understand why you even be a part of a party who doesn't like who you are or who you choose to love and be with. I think from the beginning, they kind of treated him like a red-headed stepchild, which was unfortunate. But also, I didn't think his campaign had a shot of winning at all because of the lack of support from the actual Republican Party, as well as from Republican voters who probably weren't going to vote for him. He needed those votes.
And I'm somewhat intrigued. I'm going to view this prism through the 757 angle. I can shout to, say, Virginia Beach, where even John Reed got more votes than Winsome Sears did. And Miares got more votes than Reed did. So it was literally the bottom was what was the more popular one, even as Virginia Beach would be considered. I wonder how many other total counties in Virginia had a situation where Reed got more votes than Winsome Sears. Would you like to break down your view as to the top of the ticket when it comes to Winsome Sears and perhaps Abby Spanberger as well?
I think former Lieutenant Governor Winsome Sears actually fumbled the ball on a great opportunity to actually be a uniter, not only for her party, but for the Commonwealth of Virginia. Being a first Black woman to hold the opportunity to run for governor of our great Commonwealth. Of course, a few years ago, I was rooting for two of my friends, Congresswoman Jennifer McKellar, as well as Senator Jennifer Carroll Ford. I was just so hopeful that one of those women would have had the opportunity to represent us statewide as a gubernatorial candidate. But unfortunately, we saw how that went with bringing back Terry McAuliffe and ultimately getting us our current governor, Glenn Youngkin. But I think she dropped the ball. She went full MAGA, and it came back in the bitter and the ass. I've had the opportunity. I've talked to former Lieutenant Governor, Winston Earl Sears. A couple of times I had personal conversations. She seems like a very sensible woman. But ultimately, I think her desire to be a grifter overtook her sensibility of actually understanding who she was, not just as a Jamaican immigrant, but as a Black woman. Whether you wanted to acknowledge it all the time or not, you were a Black woman in America, and you had a duty to represent not only Black women but Black men and people of color throughout this country. And a lot of her rhetoric did not do that, and that's unfortunate. And that's probably one of the reasons why she got less votes than Reed in certain counties throughout the Commonwealth, because people saw it through smoke screening of rhetoric and propaganda and the grifting, which is very unfortunate. Abigail, on the other hand, totally different, night and day. Abigail's a uniter. She loves all Virginians. She's sensible. She's educated. She's intelligent, and I think that also shined through in the debate. You can tell anyone with 2 eyes and 2 ears could see that Winston Sears had no type of policy agenda. The whole entire time is Abigail. Oh, what are you going to tell them to stop doing?
Cutting her off all the time.
Yeah, cutting her off all the time, which that was another thing. I had a conversation in the barbershop, and a gentleman brought up a point that actually kind of made me think that the Republican Party intentionally put up Winston Sears because they felt like she was a representation of Black women throughout the Commonwealth. Angry, not a good speaker, sometimes appearance being disheveled. And never talk about Black women's hair. That's a point of sensitivity for Black women. But oftentimes it was pointed at how her hair is sometimes unkept. And I said to myself, well, you have a point there, because I know the Republican Party had to have more qualified female candidates they could have put up for a statewide position. One comes to mind is out here area in Virginia Beach, Miss Shannon Kendrick. I think I've heard Shannon speak a couple of times, and I've kind of followed her political career. She seems like a sensible, intelligent person who doesn't have a problem with uniting people and working on both sides, which was complete opposite of Winston Earl Sears.
I will say that would have been a bit of a big jump because Shannon has been on school board in Virginia Beach, but at least Winsham was a delegate in the State House at least once.
Yeah,
that was a while ago.
She was a delegate for one term. I mean, her resume, she beat her chest on the fact that she was the United States Marine, which thank you for her service. She served as an electrician in the United States Marine, and she beat her chest on that, and she beat her chest on leading a men's prison ministry. And just my humble opinion, those things don't qualify you to be the governor of the Commonwealth of Virginia. We need a little bit more than that. And just my humble opinion. So when it comes to actual substance of her career, her political career, as I said, she did flip a Democratic seat or Democrat to Republican back in early 2000. I give her that. She served a 2-year term, but again, she only served a 2-year term, and that was for a reason.
And speaking of flipping, a lot of flipping happened this past Tuesday where I think going into the night, if I remember the numbers correctly, there was a 51 to 49 seat Democrat majority in the House of Delegates. And it's now like 64 to 36, if I got my numbers correct. So that's a big increase. And I think every county in some way had a measurable shift more toward the Democrats. Even the strong Republican strongholds got closer to a Democrat win than they were just a couple of years ago. How do you view not just the statewide tickets winning, but so much of the state of Virginia shifting a little bit more Democrat?
Honestly, and to reinforce your numbers, Democrats won 17 out of 18 competitive seats. That is amazing, and I think that can also be contributed to a little help from the orange guy in Washington D.C. I think this is a direct indictment on President Donald Trump and his current administration, who is just ravaging through America, destroying our democracy, destroying our Constitution, and leaving families and communities in shambles. That's evident every single day you turn on the news. So I think Virginians cannot wait to get to the ballot box to show our disgust with not only Donald Trump, but the Republican Party, particularly at the federal level, and also build a wall around Virginia by electing legislators who are going to tell Trump straight up, go to hell, not here in Virginia. And that's what we needed.
And I think Jay Jones made that point more than a couple times in the debate that he had with Jason Mewes, is that this isn't something that Jason's going to even want to do, is to be that wall, that force that is fighting actually against the Trump administration. And it would be good to have a solid, from Abigail on down to Jay Jones, statewide ticket, but also the legislature itself being so strong.
Yeah.
Virginia could be making a lot of noise to be anti-Trump. And personally, someone who dislikes Trump that much, I'd like to personally see that. But earlier this year, the Trump directive toward Texas made them want to go in a redistricting route, and then other states like California decided to follow suit to counter that. And then because Youngkin messed up a special session and how it was adjourned, now we're able to open up and have the same ability for Virginia to possibly redistrict their federal seats. What are your takes on that special session that's going on right now?
I think it's needed. And if you remember, Conrad, I was actually one of the big supporters on establishing a redistricting commission here in Virginia because gerrymandering had become basically out of control. It still is. And this is not just a Republican issue or a Democratic issue. Democrats gerrymander just as much as Republicans do. But we're in a position now to where Trump is setting a precedent with doing a midterm, because we do it every 10 years, at the 5-year mark, directing Texas to go and say, hey, redistrict your seats to give us a better opportunity in the midterm. That's a pretty gangster move. Gangster moves need to be met with gangster moves. So I applaud our Virginia legislator and putting on their big pants and putting on the boxing gloves and say, okay, that's how you want to work. That's how we're going to work here. I applaud also same thing that's going on in California with Jason Newsom. Governor Gavin Newsom, who also is leading the way on redistricting as well. Redistricting is the key to democracy, in my opinion, when it comes to voting. Unfortunately, that it's been happening for so many years, so many decades, that we've gone through redistricting, particularly, has been very harmful to Black people and Black communities. You look at a district map, it has no rhyme or reason, and that's unfortunate. Very much like the Electoral College, I think it needs to go.
I second that.
But I do applaud the Virginia legislature for calling a special session to do this. It's in the best interest of all Virginians, and I totally support it.
Now, do you have any thoughts on where Republicans sort of as a statewide party and probably individual races in the next year, what they might want to try to look toward? I can think of Bryce Reeves now running against Mark Warner next year. And in the 2027 races, which is the House of Delegates and the state Senate in that time, what do you suspect Republicans go from here?
I think Republicans don't have a game plan. And I really don't see a game plan. Even in Lieutenant Governor Winston Rossier's speech, conceding the race, it was just more of, complaints, what should happen, woulda, coulda, shoulda, complain about Abigail not answering the phone when she called to congratulate her. It's just nonsense. They don't have a policy agenda. That's very evident right now in Washington. And the unfortunate part is, particularly here in Virginia, talking about Virginia politics, a lot of sensible Republicans who I saw previously as sensible decided to take the MAGA route a couple of years ago, thinking that Donald Trump was the ticket to a winning campaign. The mantra that he carries is the ticket to a winning campaign. I think they came back to bite a lot of them in the ass. And now they're sitting around, scrambling, trying to figure out what's next. Because here in Virginia, who's the Republican leader here in Virginia? We don't really have a solid Republican leader in Virginia. You don't have anyone to point to because most of them are just puppets. And that's the unfortunate part about it. But I don't see Bryce Reeves defeating Senator Warner.
I don't even think he'll get within 5 points.
Yeah, he's very much maggish as well, which I don't get it. Because some of these people will wait for the cameras and wait for the diocese are sensible people, and but when it comes time to put Virginians first and and vote your conscience, and all morality goes out the window, and it's what Trump says and what Trump wants to do in this whole MAGA thing. But I think MAGA is going to die out just like the Tea Party died out. But I think the remnants of MAGA is already hurting us. It's going to hurt us even more. And I think the damage that's done at the federal level is going to take decades to reverse, because we don't even do a year of this man's presidency. I mean, it's like he just came in and took a chainsaw to the couch and pissed on the walls and just he's causing a lot of damage. It's going to take some time to repair.
I agree with that. I agree. All right, let's focus a little bit more locally. You live in Hopewell, Virginia, and Hopewell has a stretch in. Sorry about that. Hopewell has a stretch inside of HD 75, if I got that correct. The race was important as it flipped a Republican seat, but the Republican that flipped out of it also happened to be the one who seemingly waited until October to slip out a couple of text messages to sink Jay Jones' campaign. At least that's what it seemed like the intent was. This comes back to you on so many levels here. So let's begin to unpack the HD 75 race. First of all, Jay Jones did those texts in 2022, which, if I recall, was a year after you were running yourself for a delegate seat back when I was doing the Beach Brothers show. What's your stance on Jay's texts?
Well, I think Jay, he did the right thing coming out, apologizing, and taking full accountability. I applaud him for that. I do not hold him, I don't hold any grudges. I don't think any Virginians hold any grudges against Jay for some personal text message that he shared with a colleague. Because if anyone knows Jay, those text messages were probably sent out of frustration. They had no malice behind them. Jay Jones, this man is not going to sit there and plot to kill anybody, particularly want anyone's children to be harmed. That's not Jay. That's not who Jay is in his heart. Jay was texting out of frustration and his passion for the underserved Virginians here, that the policies that Gibson's agenda was hurting. He apologized for the text messages. They were sent. We all said things, text things. Hell, I've said things and text things that I may not be fond of. It happened. We get past it. We move on. But I think Jay should be judged by his works and not his words. And I'm a firm believer. I'd rather see a sermon any day than hear one. And Jay has put on a great sermon thus far in his career and his life. So to try to paint him as a bad guy, I think was unfortunate. But again, that goes to the Republicans not really understanding what the hell they was doing, because prior to the text messages, it was, Jay Jones is too weak. He's too weak to lead. He's too weak to serve. And then once the text message, now he's a gangster.
Too weak and too violent at the same time.
Yeah, he's just a violent, murderous person. So I mean, like, which one is he?
Yeah, I recall it was a big shift. It was soft. And then suddenly he's a killer. And then a lot of Republicans that I watched in Virginia were saying that now this is the entirety of the Democrat Party. And it turns out that no one was really listening to what the Republicans were saying in that instance. And we saw on Tuesday, the big blue movement said no, they weren't listening to the Republicans on that. So we could take some solace on that effect.
I want to point some out as well, Conrad. Ty Gilbert, not that I said Gibson. I'm sorry, I'm tired. But Ty Gilbert not one time came out and spoke about those text messages. He nor his wife. So honestly, how much fear of his life was he really in?
Especially because, as you mentioned, he's probably had his own similar text to his wife or someone else about frustrations he might have had in the state house as a big leader in the party too. So the problem with that is we would know that there's a bit of a hyperbolic nature to the way Jay's texts were treated. And because we had the concept since late 2015 into 16 of watching what Republicans can put in power after ignoring verbal things Trump has said and things he's actually done, been held liable for, that we no longer have to follow that mindset that if Republicans aren't going to kick people out after they do something bad, do Democrats as well, because they gave us the model.
We got a 34 count felon sitting in Washington, D.C. Republicans should open their damn mouth about anybody being any type of criminal or any damn text message about anything they feel is murderous. And I want to point something out really fast. I think I missed this point too, Conrad, when we talked about the text messages and coming from Delegate Carrie Coyner. I want to be very clear on this. The day after they were released throughout the media, Delegate Coyner and I spoke because prior to these text messages coming out, I had thrown my support behind Delegate Coyner. I actually did a commercial for her, as we're probably going to talk about a little bit later. And Delegate Coyner reassured me that, yes, she sent the text messages back then to Todd Gilbert, as well as the minority leader Don Scott at the time. That was the extent of it. I asked her, well, why'd you send them to both of those individuals? One, Don Scott was the minority leader of the party which Jay belonged to. Second, Todd Gilbert was the individual who the text messages were about, and Delegate Coyner said she felt, that he should know about the conversation because she had some concern. I said, okay, that was the extent of the text messages according to her for her. Once she gave them to Don Scott, minority leader at the time, Don Scott, and the Speaker of the House, Todd Gilbert. So the media, from what I understand, and from what Delegate Coyner told me, made it seem like she was the one who re-released it. No, they came from someone else. Who that individual is, I'm not at liberty to say right now, but I think, they probably won't Don Scott. Why would he put him out? So the fact that another individual had those text messages and that individual was incognito, or this individual was nowhere to be seen throughout this whole ordeal, he was the center point of his life was in danger, his family was in danger, but we had absolutely nothing from him. I'm going to leave your audiences to use their imagination on who possibly could have re-released those text messages. But Delegate Carrie Coyner gave me her word. It was not her who re-released those messages. I take her at that. And additionally, the messages that came out, Jay took full responsibility while applauding him for. I don't think anyone condoned his messages, but those who love and support Jay know that was not Jay talking out of realistic actions he wanted to take, but more so frustration and wanting a better, more safer Commonwealth for us all. And sometimes one of the comments he made that I totally agree with. Sometimes people have to feel pain for themselves to actually understand how painful it is for someone else. Donald Trump don't know what it's like to go hungry. There are millions of people right now due to SNAP benefits being cut who are going hungry. This man never had a hunger pain in his life. But I'm pretty sure if he had a hunger pain, or he would know what it was like to live paycheck to paycheck, or to be hungry and starving, the SNAP benefits would have never been interrupted. And I think we can say factually that until someone actually goes through something, they fully do not understand or can empathize with that issue. And I think that's the message he was trying to say. And I'm not speaking of Delegate Attorney General-elect Jay Jones, but understanding our community. And I feel understanding Jay, his messages were rooted in his passion for wanting better for all Virginians.
I could second a lot of that. I would agree. And regarding other versions of controversial text messages and who was the one that was cited as the other end of that, Jay Jones was a sitting delegate, Carrie Coyner, a Republican. Prior to this show, I heard from the Washington Post that they consider her a moderate. She has voted to end the death penalty in Virginia, and she voted to preserve gay marriage in Virginia, but nonetheless in the Republican caucus. But she ran in 19, 21, 23. Did you by chance vote for her in those years?
No, I did. This is my first year, and it was solely a rebuke of the candidate who was leading our ticket for the 75th district, which was Lindsey Doughtery. And first, for transparency, we here in Chester, the Enon area where we live at, we have a small, tight-knit community. Carrie's daughter and my son are great friends. They have classes together. Lindsey's daughter, my youngest daughter, were friends, go to the same daycare, same school. I live 1.9 miles from Lindsey, and I think 2.3 miles from Carrie. Before I moved, Carrie and I lived in the same neighborhood and were neighbors. So we see each other in the community. We see what each other do in the community. We know each other a lot more than those outside of this district do. So I'm pretty sure you're probably leading into this conversation. So my decision to support the better person, damn Kennedy, the better person is who I supported in this race. And for one thing, I don't have any proof or ever heard of Carrie Coyner saying any racist things about me or any other black man or black people, period. But on the contrary, Lindsey Doughtery, totally different subject.
That's where I want you to lead us into how you have come to that conclusion, what you were able to see, personally experienced, to lead you to decisions you were able to do. I'll ask a little later about why I actually support politically Carrie, but first, what happened with Lindsey?
Well, of course, everyone knows back in 2019, Lindsey Doughtery and I ran against each other for the primary nomination for the Democratic Party. Anyone in Chester community, Chesterfield County, or Central Virginia, they know my work. I've been fighting for this community. I've been in this community since 2015. I've been out on the front lines. I've been advocating. I've served on boards. I'm in the schools. I'm a very active citizen in my community for myself, my family, and my children. Lindsey Doughtery, on the other hand, came here from Tennessee, I believe, in 2016. Community service was zilch. So when she popped up wanting to run, which is her right, let's make sure we're clear of that, in 2019, I didn't know who she was. Actually, I went over and I found out at a candidate training when they asked about the candidates running for each district, and she stood up like, well, who's this woman? Keep in mind, I had just rolled off as the first vice president, first vice of the Chesterfield County Democratic Committee. So I knew all the Democrats. And this lady stands up, and I'm like, well, who's this lady? Yeah, okay, cool. I went over to introduce myself, said hi, I'm Tavorise. She gave me a partial handshake, and that is the only time Lindsey Doughtery and I have ever shook hands or were in speaking distance of one another. I would put a pin there. All right, so we move on through the campaign as we're campaigning. One evening, I received some text messages from, at the time, a good friend of mine, Carrie Coyner. Carrie Coyner was a member of a group here in Chesterfield County called the Liberal Women of Chesterfield County, which was created by Kim Drew Wright. Started with great intentions, had a lot of great energy, some great ladies in it as well. But I feel as it grew, it got bigger. Some individuals with not the best moral character end up joining the group. One of those individuals being Lindsey Doughtery. In this group text message, they had group text on phone, and also a group chat online on Facebook, I think it was. Anyway, Carrie Coyner actually ended up screenshotting some messages from a group text one evening, and in an exchange between Lindsey Doughtery and at the time Katie Sponsor, who was actually the former House delegate candidate for the 66th district, who challenged Kirk Cox at the time, had an exchange about the campaign. And one of the things that Lindsey Doughtery said in the text message was she doesn't understand why I'm even still in the race, and led to large black men like Tavorise make white women uncomfortable, and he won't get our votes. Meaning that the fact that I won't get white women votes would hinder my campaign, and I probably was going to win. Mm-hmm. But immediately after she wrote that, Katie Sponsor followed that up with, yes, black men are prone to rape and domestic violence. And those messages were screenshot, sent to me. I saw them, and I had to read them like a couple times. Like, what the hell? And the group chat had all the members that you can see who were in the group. And I'm looking at some of these other member names. I'm like, well, no one seemed to have rebuked that or said this is disgusting or anything like that, which was unfortunate. But when Carrie Coyner sent them to me, she said she thought kind of like Carrie Coyner felt with the JHO messages. Mm-hmm. Sent them to me and said, I think you should know this, Tavorise. I totally condemn it. It's disgusting. And these are not my views. And I said, thanks, Carrie. I appreciate it. I immediately contacted the chair at the time of the Chesterfield Democratic Party, which was my girlfriend, Sarah Gabor. Sarah and I met the following day. We sat down. She was completely disgusted. She was angry. She apologized, which, she didn't do it, but she profusely apologized. and said, this is not, the view of, myself or the party. And later that day, we spoke again, and because I wanted guidance on what to do. And that's why I went to our party chair. And Sarah wanted to do everything she could. Sarah was kind of with me on putting them out. Let's put them out. But Sarah said, with advice from the party, that I should probably just be quiet about it, set on it. Let's get through this election. We don't want to hurt the party. This is bigger than huge for us. So I'm me being a party guy at that time, just rolling off as the second, vice chair, as the vice chair of the party. Cool. I'll do it. I said, but what caveat? That if she wins after this, we don't support this woman anymore. If we're all on the same page of her views are not our views, and her views are dangerous to individuals who look like me and my community and my population, we're not going to support her anymore. So I ended up winning.
Sponsor as well.
Yeah, sponsor as well. And, and I wasn't running against sponsors. Sponsors not in my district, but, sponsor as well. So we go on to the election. I ended up losing the election by 87 votes. Conceded the election. Never heard from Lindsey at all. And me being a good party guy I am, you know what I did, Conrad?
What'd you do?
I still went and knocked doors for that woman. Knowing how she felt about me, I still know when to knock doors for her. But in my mind, I was not knocking doors for her. I was knocking doors for the party. She went on to go up against Lindsey Doughtery that year, and I think she ended up losing. I think put it in my notes here. She lost by 2,481 votes. And I was like, yes. Even though I voted for her, I was like, yes, because she's a horrible person. But that was actually also a reflection of our community. She does nothing in our community. No one knew who she was. She just popped up, and she had money coming in from supporters that didn't look like me. And if we looked at the breakdown of the precincts after the election, there was actually some truth to what she said, because some of the precincts that she won overwhelmingly, not a lot of people look like me were in those communities. Let's just go ahead and say that. I'm just going to be real about it, and that's okay. That's okay. Though that's who they want to support it. That's who they supported. But yeah. And so I thought we were done with Lindsey Doughtery. But oh no, like a bad rash, she pops up again and she runs for board of supervisors. I didn't support her then. Didn't go out, didn't beat my chest about it, but I voted for her in the board of supervisors. And not voting for her, but voting for my party. Fast forward, here we are again, and I'm like, are we supporting this woman again? Because particularly here's why I got even more upset, because Carrie won in 2019 by 2,481 votes. She beat the Democratic candidate. And 2021, she beat Jasmine Gore by 3,849 votes. And that's before redistricting. And then they end up changing our district from 62nd to the 75th. In 2023, she beat Steve Miller Pitts by 1,661 votes. Miller Pitts came closer to beating Carrie Coyner than the two previous candidates.
Had him on my show earlier this year.
Yeah, great guy. Miller Pitts is actually a fellow veteran, a family man, a great man of faith. I felt strongly, myself and others felt strongly, that Miller Pitts, given a second chance, could win the election. I also want to point out that the Democratic Party, when Miller Pitts ran, did not give him the same support that Lindsey Doughtery got during this election, financially or on the ground. Miller Pitts didn't get a lot of support until the later weeks of the election. And he himself will tell you this. I'm not going to argue why he didn't get the support that Lindsey Doughtery received this time.
Did Wade take away from that? Because I think Wade was in that same race too.
Let me get this off here. No, possibly so when I had a pop-up call. I'm sorry. So did Wade take away from that? Well, just like anyone has conversations behind the scenes when candidates run, a conversation could have been had by party leadership. That conversation was not had. Now, Dustin Wade being in the race, Dustin, another great guy, I felt would have done a great job. But here, Conrad, you just said the key thing. Did Dustin Wade take away from that? I don't think he did, because you know what? You had House caucus members come out and campaign for Lindsey Doughtery in the primary. You had Dan Hammer beating doors for her. You had Ray Cousins
putting the cart before the horse.
Exactly. And we're all out here mind-boggled. Like, do they know who Lindsey Doughtery is? Ray Cousins, why are you raising money for races? Then Harry, you're not even part of this community. You're way up in Northern Virginia. You're there knocking doors for races who does nothing for our community. So to back up and say, well, did Dustin take away from? No, Dustin did not take away from that. The House Democratic Caucus put their thumb on the scale, which pissed me and a lot of other people off. Because this white woman is not our Messiah. She was not our Messiah. She was not the second coming. That within itself helped her get through the primary. Mm-hmm. Had they sat there and said, you know what, this kid, this guy, this man, Miller Pitts, put up a hell of a fight last time, came within striking distance, that's who the House Caucus should have put their support behind. And the fact that they did not do that, story for another show.
Yeah, I mean, they could have. If they're putting their thumb on the scale, then it shows you the selectiveness as to who are the one they're applying the scale weight to.
Exactly.
They could just as easily have done it to Stephen or Dustin. They didn't to either. They did it to Lindsey. And Lindsey had already had that been public knowledge of what she had said.
I'll even share this with you because even when Stephen ran, there was a campaign flyer that came out and it had me and Lindsey Doughtery on it. This is a Facebook post. You can go back to my Facebook and see it. I was upset. I told Stephen Miller Pitts and I told the party, don't ever put me on anything with Lindsey Doughtery ever again. Don't put me on nothing with her. I was very explicit about that because of what happened previously. But at the same time, as I said before, Conrad, had Stephen Miller Pitts got the same support that Lindsey Doughtery had received, we would have Delegate Stephen Miller Pitts right now. And I would have been extremely happy because he's a man of great moral character. He's very active in my community. He cares about everyone in this community. Lindsey Doughtery is an opportunist. Matter of fact, even during her campaign, she didn't get an endorsement from the LGBTQI community saying she was bisexual. No one in this community has ever known this woman to be bisexual. If she is, that's fine. That's who she is. But that was a pretty opportune time to come out and say, hey, I'm bisexual now. Hey, come on. Come behind me, LGBTQI community. Support me. She's an opportunist. She uses people. She used the black community throughout her campaign for photo ops. She went to more black churches these last couple of months than she's probably been to her entire life. It was not, we see this. But the advantage she had was the rebuke of Trump. Many of us went to the ballot box and voted D straight down.
Yep.
Her winning this election, let me be clear, Lindsey Doughtery winning the 75th district is not a reflection of how great of a candidate, how great of a person Lindsey Doughtery is. It's quite
the wave was.
The wave. Mm-hmm. And she was in that boat, baby. She rode that wave straight to Richmond.
And Stephen could have as well. It's the law of opportunity. Well. You study economics. It could have just as easily been Stephen with the wave behind him.
Actually, it could have been a straight dog. We could have put a title on and probably would have won. That's how pissed off Virginians were. And I think that me personally, looking back on it now, we should have put a Democratic candidate for every last single seat, and we probably would have won every last single seat. But that's Monday morning quarterbacking. But yeah, I mean, a lot of people went in, didn't care, and even in my community, people were saying that, I even had people turn against me. Why are you supporting? Why are you supporting?
That's going to be a follow-up question.
Okay, yeah. I'll let you leave that question on. But yeah, don't get it twisted. Her winning this election was not because she's such a great person. She's such a great candidate. I think over the next 2 years, a lot's going to be reflected of who she really is. Mm-hmm. And if things, because we got to do the work. Democrats, we got to do the work because we saw what happened before when we had a blue wave. That blue wave ended up becoming a red bath later on with Glenn Youngkin and their statewide ticket won. And we can talk about that later as well.
Sure. I want to lead next into remember last year when you came on the show and the show's topic was why vote for Kamala Harris. I also did a why vote for Donald Trump show. I had 3 Republicans, well, 2, come on to discuss why to vote for Donald Trump. I had about 3 to 4, including Chase Oliver, come on to why vote independent, because I'm here to be at the top spot for politics. So I had on pretty much all three sides. You represented why I vote for Kamala Harris. I did not vote for Kamala Harris, and this is why I'm not begrudging you for you voting for Carrie. I was very vocal about why, because I didn't like Kamala Harris's not distancing herself from the Biden administration on Palestine and that genocide there. If her views were more like Sam Rasool, I easily could have voted for her. But again, I was transparent about that. Here's where it comes to a follow-up question for you. I did not vote for Donald Trump, though. Even if I had become like, this is assuming that Donald Trump is actually a good person. You've said Carrie's a good person. And that is probably why it's good enough for you to go over to not only vote for her, but stump for her. So I want you to get a little bit more into that mindset, describe it for the show, and why you shouldn't necessarily feel like you're any less of your progressive Democrat just because you support a Republican. Break that part down for me.
Yeah, definitely. I would love to. So first and foremost, as I spoke about earlier, myself, Lindsey, and Carrie, we all live in that same community. Probably see each other every other day, if not every day, in some type of passing formation. Whether we see each other or if we don't see each other, we do. Carrie Coyner, one, is one of the most moderate Republicans in the House. I have said time and time again, I have not always agreed with her policies or her votes. But whenever I disagree with her, I can pick up the phone, I can call her, and she can eloquently tell me, Tavorise, this is why I voted this way. And sometimes they would do because of their own beliefs. I don't degrade anyone because of their personal beliefs or their religion. And I think it's very unfair for Democrats to do the same thing, but yet we point the finger at Republicans. Two, I've seen Carrie do the work here in our community. One of the things that I think she failed to really talk about enough was the things she do on a daily basis. And what I mean by that, Conrad, I've seen this woman take in high school kids who were in rough situations, homeless. I know personally have taken in kids who were homeless and gave them opportunity. D'Archie Lewis, who's one of the gentlemen who was also in one of her commercials, another African-American brother who lives in Hopewell, was a convicted felon. Came home, changed his life. We all know Glenn Youngkin didn't put out a lot of pardons during his term.
Mm-hmm.
Carrie busted her ass and made sure that D'Archie Lewis was one of those individuals who got a pardon. She didn't throw no party for it. She had no fanfare for it. She didn't go make no bunch of social media posters for it, but it happened. It happened. When it comes to protecting our kids in this community, finding additional funding for our school, even the recovery high school that we have right here in Chesterfield County, a recovery high school, that was because of Carrie Coyner. Because we have kids in our community who battle with substance abuse. We have kids in our community who have, experimented with different drugs and things they shouldn't be experimenting with. Me personally, I've been affected by that because my old 15-year-old son went through a small, situation to where I even lost him to juvenile detention. Fight to get him back. Some of the things he was doing was not who he was, but he felt the peer pressure from other students. Those schools like that help our kids. Lindsey's a person who always showed up for Carrie Coyner is a person who always showed up for our community. Lindsey has always been silent. Lindsey, we usually joke in the community, she has one black friend. She has one black female friend that she works on her nonprofit over in Hopewell. If you didn't see her in the photo op with her, you didn't see her in the photo ops with any other black folks. You never saw her at a black church. You never seen her at a lot of community events because that's who she was. She was an MIA citizen. Missing in action until it's time to run for something. So again, I would very much, Carrie and I had a friendship beyond anything because we have mutual respect for one another, regardless of our policies, how we see things. And morally, as a moral individual, I will beat my chest and I'll stand on the box in the middle of 95 and I will tell you, morally, I trust Carrie Coyner a hell of a lot more than I trust Lindsey Doughtery. And I can trust that even when Carrie Coyner makes a policy decision that I may hate, one, qualified immunity. I'm a proponent of getting rid of qualified immunity.
Ditto.
She believes in it. And she gave her reason why she believed in it. Valid reason. But if she's willing to stand on it, And she is committed to it. And this is the reason why, Tavorise, I love you, I respect you, but this is where I stand because this is my views. I can't fault her for that. And I respect her even more for that. I respect the fact that we can always disagree, we can agree to disagree, and we can come together, have coffee, have lunch together, and focus on the things that we do agree on to move our community forward. And at the end of the day, another thing a lot of people did not go do the research, calling her MAGA and all this. This woman is the most bipartisan legislator in the chamber for the Republican Party. The data showed it. VPAP showed it. Her voting record showed it. So for them to sit there and paint her as a MAGA extremist was just far-fetched, which, even more made me totally upset. Because you have people outside of this district, not even within 100 miles of this community, saying how horrible someone is while supporting the actual horrible person who they was actually said to support and putting up, which, made myself and others upset.
That's why I want to have it come down to one last serious question regarding the topic, and it is the reaction to it. Because I am nothing if not a host that is interested in various parts of political topics here. And I've seen big name Virginia officials, some here in Hampton Roads, some out in Richmond, who did not like what you did with the HD 75 and have even gone far enough to say the following: Harriet would have left you behind. So I'm just curious, your take on that and what your next steps with this is, because I would hope that you're not burned any bridges. I would like to see if you want to get back into the realm that you have just as much chance of winning a strong Democrat support as Lindsey did.
Let me be very clear when I say this, Conrad. As a black man who stood up to a racist white woman who made racist comments about myself as a black man and other black men in the black community, if I have individuals in the Democratic Party, whether they're white or black, who saw an issue with that, then I can clearly say they can kiss my ass and go to hell. Because at the end of the day, I'm going to stand up for my people and my community. I would never, ever sell them out. But obviously, we have people who are willing to sell out our community members, who are willing to sell out our people with no problem, all in the name of policy. So when you come at me and degrading me and calling me less of a Democrat or a soft Democrat or a supposed Democrat, saying Harriet would have left me, hell, Harriet probably would have shot them. Because at the end of the day, I'm not going to sell out my people. And as Harriet Tubman said, she could have saved she could have saved thousands more if only they knew they were slaves. We have some who still don't know they're slaves. And they'll do anything for a seat at master's table. Not I. As I said before in our pre-interview, much like the spirit of Shelley Chisholm, I am unbought and unbossed.
There we go. I like that. Now, Mr. Marks, where can we hear more from you? Where can we follow more of you and your businesses as we get ready to close out tonight?
Hey, I always tell people, you can follow me by meeting me at the General Assembly and advocating for things that are important for not only myself, but my community and my children, and working for a greater, stronger Commonwealth of Virginia. That's all I want to see. I want to see a Commonwealth of Virginia that's reflective of our values and supportive of all, regardless of your ideology, regardless of your political party, regardless who you support. I truly believe that we have the opportunity to come together as one community, one Commonwealth, and regardless of all our differences, focus on what makes us a strong Commonwealth. Let's focus on the things that we do agree on, and let's work forward from there. So that's how you can support me in supporting those things and saying no to racism, regardless of who or what party they belong to. We need to kill racism. We need to shoot it down in any form, any color, or any type of way it may rear its ugly head. We need to stand up against it, regardless of who they are.
Seconded, Mr. Tavorise K. Marks. I want to thank you for coming on again tonight and just discussing the greatness that we've experienced over the past week with these elections, and definitely want to keep hearing more from you. I hope you have a great night, sir.
Thank you, Conrad. Always a pleasure, brother.
Yes, sir. Catch you next time. And this has been another great SchezzWho show. Thank you for watching. Provide some comments if you have any questions. Like and share this video around. And most importantly, subscribe to the SchezzWho channel so I can keep bringing you more of the great politics here. You guys have a great night.